What's up, guys, and welcome to GameScript. We're looking at Sunday Night Football between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Giants. And the Chiefs are favorites in this game, but should they be? They've been lucky all last season, basically winning one-score games, and that luck finally ran out this season. And they are facing the Giants in Week 3 on Sunday Night Football. And I'm going to get into it and do some DraftKings Showdown lineups right after this. What's up, guys? Simon Edwards at PumaCom here with Heat Tees for Sports. You're watching GameScript and looking at Sunday Night Football between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New York Giants. We have a 44.5-point total with the Chiefs as 5.5-point favorites. The Chiefs, not playing very well this year. They've lost a couple weapons already. Xavier Worthy was ruled out for this week. He has a torn labrum, I believe, that he is recovering from. There was some speculation that he might play this week. He had showed up in a couple practices, but he has been ruled out. And Rashee Rice is also still suspended, leaving Travis Kelce basically as their main weapon in the passing game, at least. And the Chiefs, they basically were on borrowed time the entire 2024 season, winning their games by one score for the most part. A lot of those games just complete luck in their favor, where like a field goal doinked or just random occurrences of events help them to pull out the games within one score. And they ended up winning their division and also winning the best record in the conference, getting themselves a bye week and facing Houston, I believe, in the playoffs. And then they just coasted into the Super Bowl where they got destroyed by the Eagles. But this year, luck hasn't been their way. They've started out the season 0-2, and they're facing off against the Giants, another 0-2 team. And the Giants just came off of a very close game where they offense just went off. They went off in the last week's game and made it a very close game. Everybody was writing Russell Wilson off at that point, including myself. And then they just kind of came out of nowhere and put up a huge score. We'll take a look at the actual fantasy performance of that score. Let's see. It was versus Dallas. If you can see, I'm going to share my screen here and give you guys an idea of what they pulled off as from a fantasy perspective last week. We saw 31 points out of Russell Wilson. We saw 13 out of Cam Skattebo. 37 out of Malik Nabers and 28 out of Wan'Dale Robinson. All those very interesting scores. On the Dallas side, Dallas went off against them too, to give you an idea of how bad their defense has been this season. Dak Prescott, 23 DraftKings points. Javonte Williams, 25 DraftKings points. Javonte Williams, by the way, has been going off this season. CeeDee Lamb with 20 DraftKings points. George Pickens, 17. Just basically the entire team just went off on that New York defense. So, situation here where, Kansas City, obviously, we know they're capable of putting up points. Patrick Mahomes, completely competent quarterback. The problem is they're lacking weapons, and that lack of weapons has been leading to a lot more scrambling out of Mahomes this year, which is going to help his fantasy score, which is what we want to see in Showdown when we're trying to decide who we're going to be putting in our lineups. We're looking for high floors, and we're looking for high ceiling for that captain position. So I'll be breaking that down here in a second. Make sure to hit the like button. I'm looking for 50 likes so I can put out my favorite picks in the comment section. Been nailing the captains lately, at least on the show. Not always in the comment section, but on the show, my low-owned captains that we've been building lineups around have been hitting a lot this season. I think I've missed maybe 2 or 3, but for the most part, hit Dalton Kincaid the other day, at least in the show build. We hit Keon Coleman back in week 1. A bunch of other names like that, just under 6% owned guys. So you want to hit the like button to get those players in the comment section. You want to hit the subscribe button as well, so you know you can get alerts for when this show comes out. I got a Monday night show with Spread a Stare that's going to be coming out later on Sunday. So keep an eye out for that. Like I said, subscribe to the channel so you can get the alert on that one. And you want to sign up for subscription to the YouTube channel, because I'm going to be launching a secret weapon for research for especially DraftKings Showdown, at least for me. And then also, just about any other game, the entire main slate. We're going to be covering a monster amount of news for every player out there, just to give people access to nuggets that they might want to be reading. They're scrambling for on Twitter when a player suddenly gets ruled out for a game or something like that, and it's very difficult to find any sort of news on some of the backup players and whatnot. And I'm going to make sure that we're giving you guys a research weapon to use when you're trying to build your lineups and trying to fill in some of these positions. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, because you're going to be getting a free beta preview if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. And I'm trying to get to 1,900. I need about 35 left to get there. So hit that subscribe button, guys, and help me out there. All right, so let's get back to the screen share. You can see I got a couple promo codes. I got BetMGM. Use the code HEATER1500. You're going to get up to a $1,500 bet risk-free. Basically, you make your first bet up to $1,500, and if you lose, they're gonna hook you up with some free bets up on the amount that you've lost. And then Underdog, use the promo code SEEK. You're gonna play $5 over there, and they're gonna give you $50 in bonus funds. So take advantage of those deals. Let's go over to DraftKings. So the highest price guy on the slate is Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers has been doing, big week in week 2, 40.7 DraftKings points. Not so great in week 1 with only 12.1 DraftKings points against that Washington defense. But Malik Nabers, obviously a guy capable of putting up big scores. 13 targets and 12 targets gives you an idea of how involved he is in this offense. Against these Chiefs, and take a look at the matchup here. Chiefs are giving up 22.6 DraftKings points a game to wideouts. They're giving up 17.2 to slot receivers, and they are giving up 19.7 DraftKings points a game to the quarterback position. So something to keep in mind with these Chiefs. Looking at Patrick Mahomes, he's been doing a lot more running than we're used to seeing out of him recently. He's had a couple rushing touchdowns, which has helped bolster his fantasy scores. We looking at a 23 DraftKings points last week, 26 the week before that. Has not been throwing for a ton of yards. He had 258 in week 1 and 187 in week 2. But the scrambling is really what has been propelling Patrick Mahomes fantasy-wise. So Patrick Mahomes is definitely fantasy relevant in this game. Russell Wilson, on the other hand, people were ready to write him off after week 1. I didn't think much of Russell Wilson. I was thinking that the Jackson Dart would be coming in to start at some point in week 2, but Russell Wilson just started going off. He started going off, I think, halfway through the game, and throwing his moon balls, and ended up scoring 34 DraftKings points and throwing for 450 yards. So monster game by Russell Wilson. So props to him on that. Survives another week. We'll go to Xavier Worthy is out. Like I said, with the Russell Wilson matchup too, Kansas City's been giving up 19.7 DraftKings points a game. We can take a look at the depth chart and get an idea why Kansas City's defense has not been that great this year. Look at all these guys on IR. Looking at a bunch of depth issues on IR. Christian Fulton is out. Deion Bush, Najee Johnson, Eric Scott, Brandon George, all these dudes on IR or just out for the week. We got Mike Dana out as well. Janarius Robinson on IR. So a lot of depth issues on that defense. You can see from their offense as well. Xavier Worthy, Rashid Rice, Jalen Royals is questionable, so he might actually play this week. And then we got a offensive line depth issue with Ethan Driscoll out. If we go over to the Giants, we're looking at some injuries, mainly to the wide receiver core, just depth issues there. Looking at the left tackle, a little bit of depth issue there too. Andrew Thomas is questionable. Moving on to the defense. Darius Mousel is out. Rakeem Nunez-Roches is out. Demetrius Flanagan fouls doubtful. That goes to the linebackers. We're looking at all sorts of linebackers on IR or out or doubtful. And then in the secondary, we're looking at a few guys out there as well. For the main part, their defensive line is intact. Dexter Lawrence, we got Brian Burns, and Thibodeau being their main guys there. Just a stud defensive line, but they haven't been doing too much to live up to expectations. But maybe against the Chiefs playing at home on Sunday night, they start to show up a bit. But we'll find out. So with the lack of receivers on the Chiefs, Hollywood Brown's salary has been inflated to $8,400. We saw him last week. He had 5 targets after a 16-target week after Xavier Worthy went out. So he only had 5 targets last week, though. So really not too much of a factor in last week's game. Which is interesting because it's helped to elevate Tyquan Thornton. Thornton, I believe I recommended last week on the main slate. He ended up having 13.9 DraftKings points on a $3,600 salary. He ended up he keeps getting these deep bombs from Mahomes. They connected on a couple, which I projected would happen. He ended up scoring a touchdown off of one of those. So nice week by Tyquan Thornton, a guy draft pick by New England. New England gave up on him, and he ended up on Kansas City, and he's seeing new legs with Patrick Mahomes. So you turnaround story there. We got Travis Kelce. With all these receivers being hurt, Travis Kelce has come back on the scene. He probably would be targeted a lot in this game, at least in the beginning of the game, until maybe they're able to take a lead or have the game under control. And then at that point, when one of these receivers, Worthy or Rice, comes back, they'll be putting Travis Kelce back out to pasture. But for the meantime, he's going to be getting some usage probably in this game as the only really receiver that Patrick Mahomes trusts at this point. Wan'Dale Robinson Big week last week, used a lot more outside of the slot, and he ended up with 10 targets. Usually, this is a guy that you'll see these 8 targets, 6 receptions for 55 yards type of games. Not last week. We saw 10 targets, 8 receptions, 142 yards, and a touchdown. So I think that was his second 100-yard game of his career. So Wan'Dale Robinson probably has the better of the matchups of the receivers this week, facing off against Kansas City in the slot. That's been a nice place for us to target like the last couple years. And they're giving up 17.2 DraftKings points. So that's going to be setting up Wan'Dale to have a decent game this week. Isiah Pacheco, also in a good matchup, along with Kareem Hunt. New York's given up 30.2 DraftKings points a game to the running back position. So that's going to set up Pacheco to finally break out of his slump that he's been in since he hurt his leg. As we can see, these leg issues can linger. We saw it with Javonte Williams. Everybody gave up on Javonte coming back from a devastating knee injury. Well, Pacheco came back from a broken leg last year and came back late in the season, did not look the same. And he has just not looked the same since he had that injury. But eventually, he's going to be back at full strength, and we'll see if this slump is legit or if it's just a slump. So maybe Pacheco does something this week against a weak defense. Tyrone Tracy, he did some criticism of the team, I believe. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before, about how they were performing in the calling plays in the end zone or something like that. And you saw his usage, I believe, took a tumble because of that. Let's take a look and see what kind of a snap count that he had, because I think that his criticizing the coaching staff put him in the doghouse and set him up for being benched for the rookie, or at least having to split 50-50 in the backfield with the rookie. So let's take a look here. I'm looking for snap counts. All right, here we go. We'll go to running back, sort by team. All right, so Scatterboo had 12% of the snaps in week 1 versus 74 for Tracy. You can see in week 2 that shifted. Scatterboo had 52% versus Tracy at 42%. And that's because, Tracy, probably ran his mouth when he shouldn't have. And looking at him at 6,600, Scatterboo right underneath him at 6,400. You can see what Scatterboo did last week. 11 rushing attempts for 45 yards and a touchdown. So, led the backfield, had a decent performance, and, Tyrone Tracy, I don't know if they'll shift back. Maybe it was a 1-week punishment type of thing, or they'll go with the hot hand or whatever, but Scatterboo now has a role, a bigger role in this offense than he did prior to week 1. Giants in a bad running matchup, though, with Kansas City only giving up 14.7 DraftKings points to the running back position. Butker, always in play. They're playing in New York. Don't be surprised if they don't have enough finishers over in Kansas City, where they stall out maybe when they get closer to the end zone, and we see Harrison Butker getting some usage in this one. Chiefs D playing against Russell Wilson. Chiefs D could easily score some fantasy points for us this week. But like I showed you, their defense is pretty banged up, and I would not be surprised if New York is able to take advantage of that. Dayball has a reputation as a good play caller. We haven't really seen it recently, but they can come alive at any point. We saw it actually. We saw it last week. Shouldn't say we haven't seen it recently, but beyond last week, we hadn't seen it very much out of Dayball. But they had a explosion last week against another weak defense in Dallas. So if the Chiefs are struggling in this game as well, then we could see this New York team go off. And I think honestly, people are probably going to be playing like the Chiefs are going to have an easy time with this game. And I think we can get different by going against that narrative. Graham Gano, they got 2 kickers listed, so just keep an eye on that. I'm not sure if Gano's hurt or anything like that. Looks like he's been doing okay. 3 field goals last week, 13 DraftKings points. He had 8 DraftKings points in the first week. Not sure about this McTamney guy. Let's see. Looks like he's just on the practice squad. Tyquan Thornton, mentioned him already. I think he has the better of the matchups for the wideouts. But also something to keep in mind with him is he gets targeted more in man coverage. So Tyquan against the Giants, who are running man coverage at a 59% clip, don't be surprised to see Tyquan Thornton get his opportunities again this week. All right, moving on. Looking at Darius Slayton. Slayton, I believe he's getting a super low target rate. You can see it showing up in his fantasy points. Only 8 DraftKings points last week, nothing in week 1. 3 targets and 2 targets. So Slayton has not really been a factor here with Russell Wilson, not really showing a chemistry there. Kareem Hunt, same thing as Pacheco. Kareem Hunt could end up having a decent game here. He's going to be the goal line back, basically, at least based on what we've seen so far this year. So Kareem Hunt could easily sneak in for a touchdown. Let's see. We're moving on to Smith-Schuster. Smith-Schuster, 10.5 DraftKings points in week 1, 1.5 last week, 5 targets and 3 targets. Depending on how this game goes and how we build our game script, Juju might not be needed that much this week, so we might not see a whole lot out of him this week. And they spread the ball around too much with these Chiefs. That's one of the annoying things about trying to figure these Chiefs guys out. It was good when Worthy came alive at the end of last season. It made it a little bit more predictable. But now we're right back to where we were last year before Worthy broke out with just a hodgepodge of dudes, journeymen and what have you. That just terrible receiving core for the Chiefs, and we're just trying to guess at which one is going to do something. Giants defense, they might even be in play. Like I said, they got a good defensive line. They just haven't gotten it together yet. But maybe they get it together against Patrick Mahomes this week. And we see, like I said, Mahomes has been scrambling left and right, and he could easily be stuck in a few situations where he gets sacked or a lot of pressure, gets intercepted. But problem with the Giants is I don't think they're getting a whole lot of pressure. Let's see if we can see some something on their pressure rate. Let's see, they got a 31.6% pressure rate, which is 22nd in the league. So Giants have not been getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So Patrick Mahomes probably won't be making too many mistakes in this one. Theo Johnson has not been getting a whole lot of usage. We saw him in a 37-40 game. He had 5 targets for 7.4 DraftKings points. Now, last year, the tight end was a position that we were targeting Kansas City with, but this year they've been better. They've only been giving up 6.6 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position. You flip that around, and Giants have been giving up 14.9 DraftKings points a game to the tight end position, which puts old man Kelce in play. I don't think I mentioned how many points the Giants were giving up when I was talking about Kelce in the pasture. So let's go to Devin Singletary. Not interested there. Not interested in Gray. Well, Gray has that same advantage with the tight end matchup, but he got 5 targets actually last week. Only caught one of them for 1 yard. So even with all those targets, it's just like not quality targets. But Gray with that matchup for tight end could be interesting. Hyatt, what's Hyatt been doing? Yeah, Hyatt hasn't even been playing. He was a guy that I liked to target last year. Looks like I don't know why they're not using Elijah Mitchell, because you'd think that like with how weak their run game is, they'd bring Elijah Mitchell up. Elijah Mitchell was actually pretty good when he had his starting opportunities with the 49ers, but has not been getting any usage. And I don't really see too much else in the dumpster. So let's go ahead and build our first lineup. For this first one, I'm going to go with, if we wanted to go with a chalkier build, the people are probably going to put Nabers or Mahomes in the captain the most. So let's go ahead and put Nabers in there, see where it can get us. I'm going to put Mahomes as the highest floor in there. We're going to put Kelce in there too, just based on the matchup. And I want to get one of these running backs in there, Pacheco or Hunt. Let's go with Hunt and hope for a goal line carry. Let's go back to that snap count. Where are we at with Kansas City on these snaps? All right. So Hunt had 40% last week versus 58 for Pacheco. And Brashad Smith, I'm guessing he's a fullback, had 8%. So about the same in week 1 too. So Pacheco has the majority of the backfield work. So Pacheco would be the main guy to put in there, but Hunt's not that far behind him, and he's much cheaper. So, I don't mind Hunt. 8 rush attempts for 31 yards and 1 reception, 3 targets and 1 target, 8 and 5 attempts versus Pacheco. Yeah, like I said, like he's not very far behind Pacheco here. So let's keep Hunt in there. Take advantage of that goal line work. Leaves us with 5,500 per guy. Let's go ahead and get Butker in there. Now, we only have one Giant right now in this build. We could go Chiefs defense and just keep it that way. Or maybe we go Gano, do a double kicker type of game. In this one, what was that total again? The total was 44.5. I don't know if double kicker's necessarily in play this week, but I can see both these offenses struggling in this one, but both the defenses suck too. So it's going to be, going to be a shootout potential type of game, depending on which Russ Wilson shows up in this one, and who Patrick Mahomes is able to kind of throw the ball to. We could put Slayton in this one. If we didn't want to go 5-1, we could put the If we don't mind 5-1, we could put the Chiefs D. We could put, Tyquan Thornton, who I talked about. Any one of these guys in this lineup. Let's say we swap out Nabers and Mahomes. Let's go Mahomes in the captain. Throwing to Kelce. And we'll give him another receiver. Let's give him Thornton. Leaves us with 12-6. We can get Nabers in this lineup too. That's another 5-1 build if we didn't want to go that route. Let's get rid of Butker. Let's put Nabers in there. Leaves us with 7K. We could get one of these Giants running backs in there. Or again, like we got options like Butker, Chiefs, Gano, Slayton, Smith-Schuster, like any one of these scrubby mid-range guys. But let's clear this out. Let's say that this Wan'Dale Robinson situation is legit. Let's say that he's going to be seeing an uptick in his air yards or whatever. Let's put him in the captain. Let's get Mahomes in there. I'm looking for floor guys. We'll get Mahomes in there. We'll get Kelce in there. And I already talked up how I want to get one of these running backs from the Chiefs. We'll stick with Hunt for this one too. All right, leaves us with 8K per guy. Again, let's put Russ in this one. Leaves me with 7K. Got Pacheco as an option, Tracy as an option, Scatterboo again. We could put Malik Nabers in this one too. Leaves us with 5,500. That puts us right at Butker. So that's another interesting type of build. Let's clear that out. Let's go with a Giants win type of script. All right, so we got Malik Nabers. He's racking up the PPR. Wilson is hitting him. Mahomes is scrambling on the other side, running for his life. And he's struggling to convert on touchdowns. So we got Butker in there with Mahomes. Leaves us with 4K per guy. I want to get another dude for Wilson. Our options are really Wan'Dale's the main guy that I'd be interested in. If I do that, though, it leaves me with only $900. What if we swap this around and put in Wan'Dale and the captain? Get Nabers in there too. Leaves us with 2,700 at least. Get Noah Gray in there. Let's try something else. Let's get Nabers back in that captain. Let's get Butker out of there. Let's put Wan'Dale in. So we got Wilson to Nabers and Wan'Dale. 3,100 left per guy. Let's get Thornton in there. 1,900 is what it leaves us with. So we got guys like Bellinger. Bellinger didn't get not any targets. And these guys like Hyatt didn't get any run last couple weeks. I think he's been healthy scratch maybe. Yeah, so it's going to be tough with Neighbors in there if we want to go this route. So I think it's Robinson with that better matchup might be the way to go here if we want to do this New York wins build. We'll get Neighbors back in there. Neighbors got the highest floor on the slate, probably 3,700. We could put the Giants D in this build, assuming that their defensive line comes together and they're able to stop Mahomes at home. We also got Theo Johnson as an option. Like I said, like the Chiefs have been bad against the tight ends in the past. I do like this build for potential Chiefs crumble type of build. I'd like to get one of these running backs in that type of build, but they're both 6,600 and 6,400, so it's pretty expensive to try to get them in. Let's clear this out. Let's go with a Kansas City kind of dominates build. Make sure to hit that like button. Give me the 50 likes so I can put out my favorite picks in the comment section, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm about 35 off of getting to 1,900, so help me out there and get your access to that free beta when it comes out. All right, let's go with Pacheco. Let's go with Mahomes. Let's give him Kelce in this one too. On the other side, Neighbors with that floor. Robinson with that matchup. Leaves us with 2,700. Puts us at Gray, Bellinger, same situation. What if we take out Pacheco and we put in Hunt in that captain instead? Save us a little bit more salary there. Leaves us with 7,200. So we could put Pacheco in this lineup too. Go double running back, which makes a lot of sense with how weak New York's been against the running back position. Or we could get one of these New York running backs in there, Butker, Chiefs. So Hunt's very interesting captain option, especially with that discount we're getting on him over Pacheco. And considering that they have both been basically splitting the carries, but they've been losing both games too. So if they're winning, we might not see this type of usage out of Kareem Hunt. We haven't seen them win yet this season, so we're not really sure how that's going to look. So I think based on the matchups, my favorite captain options would probably be taking advantage of the low ownership that we're going to get on one of these but one of these running backs out of Kansas City versus this matchup against the Giants. And I think I like Wan'Dale Robinson as well as a captain option. So those would be my three favorite captain options that I can think of. You saw a few different builds that we can do. Jesus, I hate when I forget to switch over to the DraftKings. All right, so here's the Hunt build. We got Hunt, Mahomes, Kelce, Neighbors, Robinson, and we have the opportunity to put in Pacheco in this build. This would be the Kansas City kind of like dominates this game. If we wanted to do one of those Giants, we got Neighbors, Mahomes. We put Wan'Dale in this one too. Russell Wilson was in it as well. Left us with 3,100 per guy. I had Thornton in this one, I believe. So that left us with 1,900. That was going to be a little bit difficult to try to get in. So I swapped out Neighbors with Robinson. Robinson having that better matchup. That leaves us with 3,700. So that at least leaves us with the ability to put the Giants D in there, or Tyquan or Theo Johnson in there as that last piece as well. So those are the lineups. Like I said, like Robinson, I like those Chiefs running backs as potential captain options. Pacheco, Hunt. Not sure how that's going to play out when they're actually playing with a lead. Which one of those guys? I would imagine that Pacheco is going to be getting more run if they're playing with a lead, but we haven't seen him play with a lead yet, so we'll have to wait and see how that goes. But I think either one of those running backs could be useful in the captain option. Show you what we had for the Pacheco build. Pacheco, if we used him in the captain, Mahomes, like really, like Nabers and Robinson. The matchup for Robinson, the floor for Nabers. I like both those guys. If we wanted to put Hunt in this one too, leaves us with 6,700. So that puts us left with one of these running backs on the New York side as well. People might not want to put three running backs in there, or you could go with Butker. Butker would be a good addition to this lineup too. So a few different options for us. If we put Hunt in the captain, and we put in Kelce, leaves us with 7,200. So we got Pacheco in this one. So I think that's the one I had showed you guys. But all right, guys. So hit that like button, give me the 50 likes so I can put out my favorite picks in the comment section later on. And make sure to keep an eye out for that Monday night showdown show. Got Spread a Stare on with me on that one. So you're going to want to check that out. Subscribe to the channel. Get me to 1,900. I need about 35 to get there. And you'll get access to that free beta preview that's coming up. So, all right, guys, secret weapon. Good luck, guys.